Welcome, beloved souls, to a sacred journey where heaven's light guides our hearts toward divine truth. Fate has marked you, and an unseen force from the ethereal plane is stirring in your favor. Its tremors are already reshaping the material realm, bewildering anyone who stands against you and sealing the course that lies ahead. A deep sense of irrevocability now permeates every corner of this awakening. For any who dare to reach into the sacred treasury of your birthright, there is no atonement, no bargaining, no pity. They wagered with powers beyond their grasp, and now every gamble is lost. Yet remember, the divine stands beside you, and you hold the power of the house. Lurking within your circle is a presence that made a fatal error in judgment. Observing you from afar, they believed they could pluck out the core of what makes you distinct. Instead of recognizing your trials as the crucible that forged your resilience, they misread them as soft spots and crafted an intricate scheme to bind and control you. They held that your gifts could be transferred and that manipulation, spiritual meddling, or sheer willpower could take control of your relationship with God. Their desperation, not their boldness, is what is so terrifying about this situation. This individual is on the verge of total mental collapse due to a downward psychological spiral. They are going through something that goes beyond a typical emotional breakdown and crosses the line into spiritual psychosis. The irony pierces their mind like a dagger since, by their deliberate malice, they tried to cause you the exact mental suffering they are currently experiencing. When someone reaches into the divine treasury to take something that belongs to someone else, they inherit the difficulties that led to the treasure rather than the wealth itself. The person who tried to get around the process and get the prize without paying the price is now going through all of your hardships, including the restless nights you had while honing your fortitude and the moments of uncertainty you overcame while fortifying your faith. This individual thought they were pilfering gold. However, gold only gains value when it is exposed to intense heat and pressure. They turned down your cross but demanded your crown. They rejected your servitude but want your power. The revelation is destroying them from within, and the divine is now revealing to them what it truly takes to occupy your frequency. When you were just old enough to comprehend why the world looked so cruel, you started your spiritual instruction. You were being formed in fires that would have turned lesser souls to ash, while other kids played in blissful ignorance. In reality, every rejection on the playground and every family get-together where you felt invisible served as training for using power beyond human comprehension. In your story, the darkness that others dreaded was actually your greatest teacher, not your enemy. You were gaining unbounded strength when they saw limitations. The kingdoms where you learned to reign with knowledge derived from adversity were the very areas they attempted to send you to as punishment. For this reason, their present approach of dispatching peacemakers and messengers exposes their total ignorance of the situation. They are handling this as though it were a human dispute that could be settled by compromise, contrition, or spiritual sway. They are unaware of the repercussions of trying to steal from the Most High's treasury. Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. Luke 6 verse 38. Beloved, press that super thanks button right now and sow a seed of $20 into this ministry, believing God will return it to you with supernatural abundance. It is impossible to learn, copy, or steal the frequency you operate on. Those whose hearts have been cleansed by certain tribulations get it straight from source consciousness. Attempting to get around this procedure is like someone trying to do surgery after viewing medical shows on TV. They have the confidence but are untrained, and the outcome is always disastrous. It was the remaining energy from your transformation process, not your true power, that they were able to drain from you. Imagine a butterfly coming out of its cocoon. The dissolving caterpillar, not the butterfly, was what your adversary obtained. They now bear the burden of your transformation without having the wings that make the fight worthwhile. Since a person's relationship to the Holy Source is internal rather than external, Nothing can really be taken away from them, according to the teachings of authentic spiritual organizations. It is a part of your spiritual DNA and is not worn like jewelry that may be taken off. You wind up absorbing the results of your growth instead of the growth itself when someone tries to steal something they cannot understand. The individual planning your attack is operating at a frequency so low that they are unable to fully comprehend what they are up against. To them, you seem to have all they desire: power, influence, recognition, and favor. They overlook the scars, but they notice the crown. Envy has warped their view to the point that they believe your presents are unmerited indulgences rather than hard-earned riches. Their goal was to expedite their own trip, not to comprehend or value yours. They wanted to seem knowledgeable without becoming wise, powerful without becoming powerful, and blessed without being blessed. Now, via first-hand experience, the universe is exposing the pointlessness of their strategy. Compound interest is transferring all of the burdens they attempted to place on your shoulders to theirs. Every restriction they try to place on your fate is now limiting their own options. This is instructional correction, not retaliatory punishment. The divine acts out of complete justice rather than resentment. When someone attempts to upset the natural order by taking something that belongs to someone else, the cosmos makes sure they get the full curriculum they were trying to avoid. It's a master class on cosmic consequences, and you have to survive what you've already survived in order to graduate. Their inability to accept truth is the most hazardous part of their current situation. They continue to think that by using more complex plans, more desperate tactics, and more spiritual manipulation, they can turn things around. They are unaware that they have set off a process that is independent of human involvement. In the meantime, your own energy field is undergoing a remarkable transformation. Everything that they believed they were taking away from you is coming back, only stronger. The gifts that appear to grow gradually are about to materialize quickly. The dreams that seemed so far away are about to come true. With supernatural support, the impact for which you have been preparing is ready to be unleashed into the world. The plot takes a turn your adversary never saw coming at this point. They believed that you would always be on the defensive, defending against their assaults and attempting to recover from their sabotage. They didn't account for the fact that each attack they made actually strengthened your spiritual muscles. You're going to switch from defense to offense now, but not in the way they think about war. Instead of attacking them, your offensive approach focuses on becoming so powerful that their attacks are rendered inconsequential. Yellow heart if you're moved by divine love. Now is the moment to share it. Click the Super Thanks button on YouTube and contribute $50 or more to help us broadcast God's blessings far and wide. Every act of generosity you make is being watched in heaven and will return to you 100-fold. Because of their dishonesty, the community to which they belong is starting to fall apart. Those who back their campaign against you are beginning to wonder what they agreed to. The energy that once appeared to be united against your success is now refocusing inward, causing the internal strife that ruins organizations from the inside out. They are going through what happens when someone whose foundation is made of solid rock tries to stand against a house split against itself. A single member of their group has become the center of this breakdown. Their ego and conceit started it all, and now their own supporters are starting to see them as a liability. They thought their wealth could buy them victory, their connections could ensure results, and their power could overrule the will of God. They're going to learn that some conflicts are waged in heavenly courts and cannot be won with worldly weapons. They transgressed a spiritual precept that extends beyond mere energy manipulation. By presenting stolen gifts as genuine donations, appropriating power as personal authority, and appropriating influence as earned leadership, they attempted to counterfeit divine currency. The cosmos constantly detects and rejects counterfeit spiritual currency because it maintains stringent quality control in these areas. Their spell work, if we can call it that, was doomed from the start since it was predicated on a basic misinterpretation of the nature of divine gifts. They strove to control what could only be given over to manipulate what could only be received, and to approach hallowed power with profane means. Forces far beyond their understanding were keeping an eye on every incantation they used, ritual they carried out, and manipulation they tried. They never truly had an ally in the person they hired to help them get beyond your spiritual barriers. They were an undercover spy working for your protection. In reality, what your adversaries believed to be a successful invasion was divine intelligence obtaining details about their objectives. Their attacks were being surgically redirected back to their source by the same person they trusted to break through your boundaries. This highlights a significant aspect of divine protection. You are surrounded by visible forces that are dressed like everyday people, in addition to being protected by invisible ones. People your adversaries view as neutral or even sympathetic to their cause can be some of your strongest allies. These adversaries developed complex schemes based on out-of-date knowledge regarding your spiritual potential. They continue to act as though you are the same person who is susceptible to intimidation, manipulation, and overwhelm. Your spiritual infrastructure was successfully strengthened, which is what they mistook for successful psychological harm. With each attack they fired, you had to gain fresh strength, power, and resilience. Their weapons are no longer suited to the new you, and you are not the same person they began battling. Everyone concerned is now able to see the cocoon of protection that has encased you during this struggle. People who previously were unable to see your spiritual covering are starting to realize that you have been protected by something that is beyond human capacity. At the same time, the facade of dishonesty that has concealed the genuine character of your adversary is falling away. Those who were awed by their seeming strength are now able to see through the facade to the insecurity and despair that lie beneath it. Every relationship in your surroundings is changed by the perfect storm of revelation that this dual disclosure produces. As the truth becomes indisputable, those who backed your adversary because they thought the lies about you were true are abandoning you. As reality replaces fiction, even those who disagreed with you due to sincere miscommunication are reevaluating their stance. They saw your extraordinary fortitude, your enigmatic insight, your remarkable capacity to see the light in the dark, and rather than acknowledging these attributes as proof of divine choosing, they saw them as challenges to their own importance. The solitary episodes they planned during your early years weren't sporadic acts of cruelty. Rather, they were deliberate attempts to harm your spiritual growth. They thought that by causing particular traumas intended to reroute your gifts toward advancing their goals, they might tamper with divine programming. However, human intervention cannot taint divine programming. The same things they intended to weaken were strengthened by the difficulties they incorporated into your training program. Every betrayal turned into a practice in forgiving, and every deception into a lesson in discernment. A significant cosmic truth is symbolized by the wrong cookie jar they accessed. Divine gifts are encoded with the particular intentions and character traits needed to use them appropriately. The tests intended to develop that character are given to the person who tries to steal power they haven't earned through character development. They intended to use your gifts for dominance and self-worship, which set off instinctive spiritual defenses that stopped their robbery attempt in its tracks. They created a portal to your suffering rather than using your power. They downloaded your growing process instead of inheriting your gifts. The journey is destroying them because they don't have the foundation to withstand it, even though they wanted the destination. Because of this, their current condition is more akin to spiritual psychosis than to simple emotional instability. Imagine attempting to run software intended for a supercomputer on a simple calculator. They are processing experiences that were never intended for their mind to handle. Overloading the system is unavoidable and disastrous. They are going through your hardships without having access to your spiritual support system, your anguish without your heavenly solace, and your trials without your heavenly favor. The people in their community are starting to realize how impossible their circumstances are. Long-term defeat is being experienced by those who joined their movement in the hopes of an immediate victory. People who invested money in the hopes of earning a profit are seeing their money disappear. Allies who offered assistance in the hope of a common victory are now facing a shared devastation. As a result, everyone involved in their campaign starts to doubt their own judgment and loyalty, which sets off a chain reaction. Dove brothers and sisters, everything done in faith multiplies in God's abundance. Use the Super Thanks feature to donate $100 today and join this sacred mission. When your roots are grounded in Him, your fruit will flourish, and your offering becomes a seed that bears blessed harvests. The individual who enlisted others in this spiritual conflict is now being held accountable for results that surpass their expectations and preparations. They have made the seclusion they attempted to force upon you their own reality. People who formerly feared their influence now sympathize with their desperation. Former supporters withdraw their support to safeguard their own reputation, and former allies distance themselves to avoid guilt by connection. The audience for their humiliation is the same network that they used to organize against you. This is where your story changes from one of defense to one of power, though. The same amount of energy they expended trying to weaken you is now being used to further your progress. They are multiplying and redirecting the resources they wasted in an attempt to stop your destiny from happening sooner rather than later. Not only does divine justice restore what was taken, but it also makes up for each day, hour, and moment lost as a result of spiritual theft. The divine intervention that condenses years of progress into months, months into weeks, and weeks into days is eradicating the delays they made in your chronology. Unbelievably fast, the dreams that seemed to take decades to come true are suddenly becoming a reality. Opportunities that once seemed unattainable are now inescapable. Unexpected sources of resources are coming your way that previously appeared to be limited. This acceleration is carefully matched to your level of spiritual growth and preparedness. It is not arbitrary. The divine empowers its chosen vessels in accordance with their ability to steward what they receive, rather than overwhelming them. Your ability to manage higher levels of authority, influence, and responsibility grew with each test you passed, trial you overcame, and temptation you refused. The individual who attempted to pilfer your gifts is going to see their magnified image surpass their wildest expectations. They were fighting someone whose source is limitless, yet they mistakenly believed they were vying for scarce resources. They didn't realize that spiritual wealth functions outside of the scarcity concept that dominates worldly thinking, so they felt your success would limit their opportunities. Their perspective is based on the ideas that influence is limited and needs to be protected, favor is limited and needs to be fought for, and power is limited and needs to be hoarded. The foundation of your reality is the knowledge that divine resources grow when given freely, multiply when shared, and expand when given away. The success of your responses and the failure of their attacks can be explained by this basic operating system difference. A perversion of nurturing power is what makes the mother figure energy that might be at the heart of this predicament particularly significant. Someone who ought to have embraced your individuality instead decided to stifle it. Someone who was in a position to support your growth chose to undermine it. Someone who could have protected chose to incite danger instead. A spiritual transgression that necessitates cosmic correction occurs when someone in a protecting capacity turns into a cause of harm. When people tasked with protecting the weak misuse their position to further their own ambitions and insecurities, the universe pays close attention. There are more layers of divine irony in their current disintegration if this energy has direct access to your early years. They saw the wonder of your early growth and decided to see it as a danger instead of a gift. The extent of their spiritual deprivation is exposed by their obsession with your power. You were naturally endowed with supernatural abilities, but they have fought valiantly for shards of power through control and manipulation. Their arduous attempts to create something that cannot be gained via human effort are exposed by your simple link to divine favor. Their heart has been wounded by this comparison, and it bleeds every time you show them how far you've come. They intended to introduce the same darkness that devours them into your innocent heart in order to corrupt it. They felt that by filling you with suffering, uncertainty, dread, and resentment, they could taint your connection to source consciousness. Let's not mince words, though. The truth is still obscured, warped, and buried beneath algorithms, censorship, and fear. But your heart never ceased seeing reality. You're still here for that reason. You felt the simulation glitch beneath your feet, which is why you never tapped out. This world is rigged, you know that. You've finished waiting for approval to get up. Spiritual filters built within your heart draw strength from adversity, compassion from cruelty, and insight from suffering. Their fascination with you is a poisonous mixture of adoration and contempt. They are both drawn to and repulsed by the very characteristics they lack. Their artificial personality is emphasized by your innate charm. Their fake influence is exposed by your real power. Their compensatory insecurity is shown by their sincere assurance. Being close to you gives them what they want while serving as a reminder of what they will never have using their current strategies. This leads to an addictive cycle where they are tormented by your energy and are unable to avoid it. They feel inadequate when they are around you, yet they need you to feel alive. Like moths to flame, they are drawn to your brightness. And just like moths, the very thing they can't resist is destroying them. The weight of your genuine emergence is causing the hierarchy they have been trying so hard to preserve to fall apart. Your presence demonstrates that genuine authority is unaffected by consent. Genuine favor cannot be withdrawn by human rejection, and real authority does not require validation. Everyone thinking that crawling was the only method to climb was essential to their bootlicking empire. Some folks are just born to fly, as your example illustrates. The house you own is not a symbol of borrowed authority, but of complete spiritual possession. You own land that cannot be taken. They wear boots that can be taken off. You bear identities that cannot be changed. They have titles that can be withdrawn. Their power is reliant on the collaboration of others, whereas yours is derived from a spiritual connection. Your reality solidifies as their delusion fades. Truth is saturating every void left by falsehood, and the plug that kept their false narrative going has been pulled. Glowing star yearning to witness God's miracles firsthand, plant your spiritual seed now by contributing $100 or more through the YouTube Super Thanks button. Your offering lights the path for others and echoes through His divine plan, bringing His light into every step you take. Individuals who held their version of events to be true are now seeing evidence that challenges their narrative. People who back their cause are now realizing they were duped into going against the will of God. This insight leads to a widespread awakening that goes well beyond your own circumstances. Everyone involved in this spiritual conflict is being forced to decide whether to stick with blatantly false information or to align themselves with unquestionable truth. Not only will their decision affect your relationship with them in the future, but it will also affect their future relationship with heavenly favor. The exact trials they created to harm you have tested and validated your preparedness for what lies ahead. Your capability grew with each attack you survived. Your judgment grew with each manipulation you defeated. Your heart grew with each betrayal you forgiven. Your ability to tell the truth improved with each lie you exposed. Your character's spiritual inventory has been finished, and the results make you eligible for duties that go beyond your wildest expectations. Your previous enemies cannot even perceive, much less interfere with, the frequencies that the authority being downloaded into your life operates on. You are transitioning into the creative part of your future after completing the defensive phase of your training. The unstealable essence of genuine divine endowment was exposed by their attempts to steal your gifts. Their attempts to undermine your might proved the unbreakable basis of your spiritual power. Their efforts to damage your reputation revealed how unchangeable your heavenly appointment was. The prosecution used each of their attacks as evidence in the cosmic case against them. They are currently experiencing the curriculum that generates your strength, which they demanded to comprehend. They are bearing your burden without your grace, despite their insistence that they could manage it. They said they deserved your job, but now they're finding out the true cost. This divine reversal accomplishes several goals at once. It demonstrates divine protection to anyone contemplating such an attack. It validates your authority in the eyes of those who questioned it. It establishes your credibility for the larger assignments that lie ahead. It defends your character in the eyes of everyone who witnessed their accusations, and most importantly, it frees you from the defensive posture you have maintained throughout this spiritual siege. Your foes have neutralized themselves, so you don't need to utilize your energy to protect them. Their attacks no longer demand your attention, since they are too overwhelmed by the repercussions to carry on with their onslaught. Their ambitions no longer endanger your peace, because they are too preoccupied with surviving the fallout from their earlier efforts. It is impossible to overestimate the freedom this gives you in your life. You may be able to concentrate solely on creating rather than defending, progressing rather than surviving, and building rather than defending for the first time since this started. Strategic expansion can now take up the conceptual space that strategic defense once occupied. It is now possible to devote the emotional energy that was formerly needed for spiritual combat to spiritual construction. Yes, your cup is overflowing, but not with the same stuff that fills regular cups. The liquid fire that is filling you changes everything it comes into contact with. Your thoughts contain creative energy that materializes in the physical world at a never-before-seen pace. Solutions that transform entire industries, communities, and cultures are produced by the inspiration that downloads into your spirit. This is the time when you will emerge from the cocoon of preparation and take off with a purpose. In reality, everything that appeared to be intended to stop you was meant to prepare you. All of your opponents were unwittingly taking part in your training. Every barrier that seemed to stand in your way was actually guiding you in the direction of a more advantageous path. Your strongest witness to divine justice and protection will be the person who planned this whole effort against you. Anyone thinking about launching a similar attack on the Chosen will be cautioned by their story. Their experience will show how pointless it is to fight against individuals whose victories are won in celestial courts before they ever set foot on battlefields on earth. However, your story goes beyond their loss and declares the victory that was always going to happen. You never fought to win. You fought to demonstrate that truth cannot be stifled by deceit, light cannot be extinguished by darkness, and winners cannot be vanquished by losers. Every conflict was merely the act of bringing to light what was always true, and the result was predetermined. The power that will heal many has been transformed from the pain they attempted to inflict upon you. The restrictions they tried to put in place are now the power that will raise entire communities. They have transformed the curses they muttered into the air into blessings that will last for generations. Everything will be changed into proof of God's kindness, so nothing they intended to be wicked will stay evil. As this phase of your life comes to an end, a new one begins with opportunities that are greater than anything you have ever encountered. Their attempted theft will appear like stealing a drop from the ocean when you use the power you're about to use. Their hoarding will seem like preserving pennies when dollars are pouring in from heaven, when you have access to the riches that are coming your way. As true royalty arrives, the authority you're inheriting will make their power struggles seem like kids fighting over toy crowns. Now is your moment, selected one. The sentencing is being carried out with divine accuracy. The court has rendered a decision, and the verdict is final. Not only is justice being served, but it is being done so completely that there is no place for appeal, no room for debate, and no chance of reversal. Enter what has always been yours, enhanced by heavenly logic that makes every setback into a huge profit. The party is about to start, the fight is finished, and you have won. They aspired to be you, but they ended up serving as proof that you are unbeatable, unreplicable, and unreplaceable. You always had the throne,